7 lies that you've been told about scaling. What are they? Well, you're gonna wanna tune into this video as we dive deep into this topic. Hi, I'm Jessica Yarbrough, top business strategist for coaches and consultants who want to leverage the power of an ultra high ticket model to scale a 7-figure business. Now, you hear a lot of people throwing around the word scaling in our industry, and scaling itself is a broad term. I mean, you could be scaling to 100,000, you could be scaling to $500,000, you could be scaling to 7 or 8 figures. Well, as someone who has successfully scaled a 7-figure profit business, I want to unpack some of these lies that I've come across. Let's dive in. Lie number 1, it's easy. The first lie that I hear people say all the time is that scaling is easy. Well, and in theory, sure, the principles of scaling are simple, but then executing on those strategies and getting everything right, is not easy. In fact, newsflash, it's a lot of work. And anyone who tells you it's not is full of it. Look, if you see someone saying it's easy to scale, just remember that if it was easy, everyone would do it. If you're an entrepreneur, then you know that being an entrepreneur isn't the easiest path. It's why a lot of people dip their toe in the waters of entrepreneurship and then quickly give up. So no, scaling is not easy. Can you build a model that is simplistic in nature? Sure. In fact, this is something that I teach my clients to do, but there's a tremendous amount of work that still has to be done. There's having the right product or service with the right marketing, coupled with the right systems and the right team and having the right client delivery. And all of these things take time and the right skill set to build out. Lie number 2, faster is better. Another lie when it comes to scaling is that faster is better. And I know not everyone will agree with me on this one, but it is something that I am passionate about. Specifically, I'm talking about people who start making money and then they get so focused on the money that they focus solely on more and more acquisition of new business. And by the way, at the expense oftentimes to everything else in their life. Look, I know many coaches and consultants who grew their business so rapidly and then it broke when they hit $1 million. And when I say it broke, I have colleagues who literally lost everything because suddenly they had this influx of clients when they didn't have the systems and the team and the back-end delivery to support them. Can you imagine what a customer service nightmare that would create? Not to mention the hit to your brand reputation. I also know people who have scaled so fast at the expense of everything else in their lives, putting themselves in the hospital with a heart attack or gaining 100 pounds or destroying their relationship with their spouse or their children. Look, I'm all for growing your business, but I also know that you can do it in a balanced way. And this means everything from the dance that absolutely needs to happen between client acquisition and building the right support systems, team, and delivery. But it also means growing your business while taking care of yourself. This is something people don't often talk about in the industry, but there's a lot of very successful entrepreneurs that are near suicidal. You always hear them share stories after they've gotten help. And I believe that this happens because they are so focused on the money and they're so caught up, and then they don't have the right people around them. They're not taking care of themselves. They're not making their relationship with their family, with God, or some form of spirituality a priority. They're not making their friendships and their health a priority. I'd rather scale with intention like I did and have it all than scale just for money's sakes and lose it all. So yes, you can make massive leaps in your revenue, but do it with intention and make sure that you can deliver to your clients while still taking care of yourself and having time for other things that matter in your life. Which brings me to lie number 3, that you have to sacrifice your values or your integrity in order to make a lot of money. And this one really bothers me because it's simply not true. Now, do a lot of people choose to take this route? Absolutely. And it really gives a bad name to the coaching and consulting industry. However, you do not have to do that. When I talk about sacrificing your values or, your integrity, this can show up in a lot of different ways. Things like paying for fake awards or taking credit for an award when you played a very small part in it. Or how about buying a bunch of your books so that you can claim that you are a New York Times bestselling author. It could also mean things like scamming people, treating your team poorly, or not paying contractors. Look, I've seen it all. And unfortunately, I've even been on the receiving end of some of these things. Of course, it does take more energy and effort to stay in integrity. This is why it is so important to have the right circle of influence around you so that you can stay true to your values. Lie number 4, delivery is the easiest part. The fourth lie was inspired by a coach that I recently heard who claimed that client delivery is the easiest part of scaling a company. When I read this, it literally made me laugh out loud. And I happened to share it with one of my clients at an event. And this particular client actually scales 8-figure companies. Right? Big companies. And it made him laugh out loud as well. Look, whether you're selling a physical product that is dependent on supply chain, or whether you are selling a service which depends on relationships, client delivery is not the easiest part of scaling. In fact, there are whole industries dedicated to supporting companies with customer service. In fact, I have a client who runs a multi-million-dollar customer service support company. If that was the easiest part of scaling, again, everyone would have super successful businesses. It actually takes a lot of effort to keep people happy. And the better you get at keeping your clients happy, the more your brand reputation will grow and the more people will want to buy your products and services. However, getting this part right is not the easiest part of scaling a company. And it's going to require the right strategy, the right systems, and absolutely the right team to help you. Lie number 5 to scaling is that quantity trumps quality. And this can play out in a number of different scenarios. For example, some people believe that putting out massive amounts of subpar content is better than putting out less quality content, like less pieces. And I disagree. If there's no depth to what you're saying, people are not going to book calls. This is like when you see a leadership or executive coach, for example, putting out inspirational quotes. It does not get book calls. Now, if you are a thought leader in the space, like the big gurus, like Grant Cardone with his 10X memes, right? And they have these massive teams and they're assembling tons of content, and you've reached that point of widespread recognition, then sure, maybe you're at a point where quantity trumps quality. But for most people, when you're trying to grow your authority and you're trying to get people to slow their scroll and actually pay attention to you, you need to put out quality content. In fact, I built my whole expert platform by building what I call a body of work online. And I continuously provide value to my audience, just like I'm doing in this video right now. I make sure to educate them, to nurture them, and all of this has paid off in terms of my brand recognition, my reputation online, and ultimately the scalability of my company. Lie number 6, revenue is the most important number. Another big lie, which I'm sure you've seen people share, is touting their revenue as the ultimate number. There are many coaches and consultants who make a lot of money, but because their expenses are totally outrageous, they actually keep very little of that money. I had a prospect apply to work with me that on paper looked really good. In fact, this person had a seven-figure revenue business. And yet when I had a conversation with them, I learned that their profit was less than $100,000. I mean, in fact, they were seriously struggling because they had tried to build a bigger company than they were ready for. They had a massive team, physical offices. They were severely undercharging and still stuck in a volume-based business. And if you haven't seen my other videos where I talk about how to flip the script and create a low volume, ultra high ticket business, then be sure to check that out. We'll drop a few of those in the comments below. So that person's situation, coupled with a large ad budget, means they didn't even break $100,000 like a year. And by the way, the business owner was exhausted, working 70 hours per week and hadn't had a vacation in years. Can you imagine generating 7 figures in revenue and keeping less than 10%? That is not a good scenario. The reality is you can have a high profit coaching business. In fact, you can make 7 figures and even keep 7 figures if you structure your business the right way. This is where having an outside expert who's created that themselves can be very beneficial and helping you set yourself up for success. Which brings me to lie number 7, that you can do it on your own. Now, occasionally I might hear a story of someone who, never hired an outside coach or consultant and they were able to make millions. But I personally don't know anyone who has achieved that. Those would be outliers. In fact, the most successful coaches and consultants I've ever met seriously invested in getting the help they need. I know I sure did. Sometimes I have prospects who fill out an application and they're making $400,000 to $500,000 a year, but they refuse to invest in getting the help they need to get them to 7 figures. Look, if you've been grinding at your business for years and you're stuck at the same income level, then doing more of the same is not going to get you to your goals. If so, you would have probably figured this out by now. Having an outside expert that can come in and look at your strategy, find the holes, and shift your perspective, your potential of what is really possible can literally help you scale to the next level revenue, even in a very short time frame. Like my client Maureen, she was stuck at the same income level for years. She joined my program and in 5 weeks we 2x'd her prices and she landed a $180,000 contract. I had another client, Carl, who has successfully scaled multiple companies. He literally said he thought it was going to take him 3 years to scale his consulting business to the next level. And I was able to help him do that in just 10 months. If you want to scale, invest in the help you need. Do not wait on this. This wraps up my video on 7 lies you've been told about scaling. Which one resonates with you the most? Is there another lie that you've been told? I'd love to hear it. Drop a comment below. Until next time.